This is going to be a list of Mirage nades and their lineups. Just a note on what nades might not be in here that are useful. I'm not going to have nades that don't have lineups in it, because that's kind of the whole point, that shows lineups. So if you're like jiggling this is like a decent nade. Not even jiggling, just fighting and throw it. But it's not a lineup, so it's not going to be in the video. Or like if you're just out lower and mid and you feel like you have to smoke under because like this guy died or something and you need to fight, then your non like super thought out nades are not going to be lineups, but like it's still fine. Like it can be fine to throw a smoke from a cat like this if they're going for a push or something. So that's just a note on the specific nades that are going to be in there. And the whole thing with throwing util is that you want to throw util that actually has intention behind it. So you're not throwing like, you're not just randomly throwing this smoke after every time you throw the molly, because most rounds that smoke doesn't do anything, especially if they're going for a heavy mid control. So just things like that. Try to throw nades with like a purpose. So for middle, kind of your most important set of util is being able to smoke mid window. So you're coming into this corner of the trash can, and then aiming. Imagine this line's extending out, aiming in the middle of it. Maybe I like to aim a little to the left, and then I'm clicking D. You can see I start moving. I'm clicking D and jump throw. Now that's gonna bloom in the window. There's no gaps, other than flying up here is technically possible. Sometimes there'll be a gap. And then smoking connector from spawn. I like to come into this corner and aim at the bottom of the shadow from the rug, where it kind of goes straight, aim at the middle and jump through. And it'll bounce a couple stairs up and block all of your vision from connector. So that's how you get out top mid. Once you're actually out top middle, it's nice to be able to actually be useful from here instead of like your smoke's fade and then you're stuck. So re-smoking window, top of this over to the antenna. A little bit to the right of the antenna, I usually throw it. And then for cat, you're coming into the other side and aiming at the antenna. Also from top mid, you can molly and nade window by being anywhere back here, aiming at the top of the building, and again the window's in line with its antenna, so you can use that if you have to. Molly out the window. And then to help your lower mid players, or some flashes, you can flash con by coming in. If you're on this side of the box, you can throw it a little bit to the right of this binding. If you're on this side of the box, this is the actual lineup. You can throw it a little bit down of this binding. And that's for like, you'd have your players getting ready to peek, and they peek off of it, and you can see where it pops. It is actually going to blind a lot of people in here. The flash just doesn't quite look like it. So also from down here, smoke con a couple ways. Because of how the smokes expand now, you only need to get up 2 or 3 stairs for it to actually be a decent con smoke. That's actually enough, like that's above head level, but even juicing it a little bit more is fine. And then from down here, you can aim at this top of this pipe. You smoke jungle con, which can help you cross, but I prefer to smoke lower. And then 2 kind of quick flashes. This thing right here is actually sloped, so you can bounce flashes off of it. So if you're aiming at the bottom and you jump throw, it will flash all of these angles and like close like this. If you don't jump throw and you aim it kind of a little bit higher, like on line with this light, it'll actually give you a good pop flash for these ladder angles. And then to get into window, I haven't done this a lot, but I'm going to try to start incorporating that, where I'm in the corner with bench, right click, jump throwing, and you can throw that and jump up. Or you can have a teammate throw it. You can just be like, you can just be out here, have your teammate throw it, and then strafe in. So a lot of your CSGO smokes still work, where you can come here and throw smokes there. You can come to either of this spot or this spot and aim at this and the middle respectively. You can throw both smokes from this corner actually by coming into this corner, looking at this big thing of mud. That's a middle click jump throw, so left click, right click, and you can smoke stair by coming up to the top and throwing a smoke, or sorry, stair and then con, and it blooms pretty well, especially when they all kind of melt together. But you can throw those the old ways, it's also fun. The CT smoke is actually important, the new CT smoke's really good, where you're coming here to this line, and aiming in the middle of this wood, and jump, it didn't jump through, and jump throwing, and then also from here, really good flash is jump third off of this outpost. And the reason the smoke's so good is it actually lands on the CT box, so it actually lands on this box. And if you can see, if I jump up here, I can't actually see anything. I have to get all the way up on the ticket before I can see. And that reason that flash is very good is it pops kind of directly in this like gap. Or if I'm standing here, I'll actually get blind, which is a really common like tight angle to hold, and it blinds all of your kind of more standard angles. Now I want to talk about flashes, where you used to throw the old CT smokes from. And the lamp flash is still very good, especially if you suspect someone's like ratted out to Apex, or you know they only play like default. And then also the rush flash, where you kind of run looking in this area, you throw a flash, and you jump up past it, and run out with it. Still very good. Or a couple mollies. Mollying under, obviously, usually you want your palace player to do it because you're exposed to a bunch of shit, but just aiming at the kind of top left area of the A sign. If you are out Apex, you can molly jungle by running at the antenna and throwing. That mollies jungle and this close angle. So I kind of alluded to Palace being the person that needs to molly under. The way you do that, you're coming into the middle of this pillar and aiming at this curve at this bend in the wall, and you let go when you cross this pillar. And that mollies under. It's also, this palace gets smoked pretty often, so it's good to know how to molly it when it's smoked. You can still do that lineup, but sometimes the smoke will be really deep and block this. So if you come into this corner, there's a bunch of ways to line it up. I line up by being in this corner and aiming to the left and down of this corner, and I back up into this part of the wall, not this part, and that mollies under. If you're having trouble getting out and you need a flash, you can come into this crack on the wall and aim. See, there's kind of like some cracks that run perpendicular to each other, and aim at, there's a small smudge of white here where you can throw a flash off of, and just throw that and then come here and pop out with it. Blinds like this spot, these spots. And then if there's some smokes you can throw from here, they're kind of niche because hopefully your ramp players are throwing them. Or you can just drop the util to the ramp players before you get out here. But if like a smoke misses or something like that, it can be good to know. Where if you are in this corner, you can aim above the end of the tip of the ladder up, and then you're gonna run forward and throw it when you pass the tip of the ladder. Or if I listen to myself, when I pass the tip of the ladder. A little bit before you pass the tip of the ladder. Along this back wall, peek out until this door is visible, aim at the top, and you step throw. But this thing blooms really inconsistently. Sometimes it gives them like a one-way drop down, sometimes it gives them a one-way on top of stair, and sometimes it actually does the proper bloom. I go over to the, well, there's two post-plant things for A, actually. If you are post-plant CT, and they've like smoked you off, and you were playing in here for rap and they never came, they start diffusing. Backed into this corner, and Molly different spots, aiming at this top chimney looking thing. That Molly's default. And if you come down one, if you come down one building, that second mounts actually gets the triple plant, the ramp plant. And then from ramp, you see this side of stair is actually curved or angled. So you can from ramp aim above the angled section and run forward throw, and that will get the ramp plant. And this plant for B executing can be rough, but you can smoke GetRight going into the window panes and aiming near this out jut and letting and throwing. And you can smoke a left side by coming into this kind of corner, aiming above the lamp and jump throwing. If you aim a little bit lower, it won't come out quite as much, which is probably for the best. With those, your flashes that are for your normal take are aiming kind of in the bottom of this little window, and run, jump throwing. It's not super specific, so it's just blind. A lot of various spots. And then do not throw this flash if you don't think you can land it, but it's a decent flash. Oh no. Where you're throwing it off of this area. So some other smokes you can do, if you're doing a cat split, it's pretty good to throw these, where coming into this back corner, your T-Aps, aiming at the top and jump throwing, smokes the window, and aiming at the second arch, the bottom of the second arch, will actually smoke the door. Keep in mind, the smoke's gonna land like here, so it is somewhat lurky, but they have to be kind of psychotic to run through it. One more smoke from that same spot is a smoke that I kind of miss a lot for some reason, but see, I'm already ready to miss it. But it's aimed at this top left corner. I don't know why I miss the smoke so much, but it smokes deep cat. I also just don't like the smoke because if I'm a CT and I see this smoke, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just go through. And 2 mollies. Obviously, well, you can also do your like lurk smoke where you're just kind of throwing it to land here, but to molly Van, you just aim at the top while you're running out, and it'll pop. And then to molly back sight, which is actually really important. Aiming at this pillar and running forward and throwing, and you can do it on the fly pretty easily because you just run out and then start running forward. That'll molly the people that kind of just sit back sight waiting for plant and killing one. So there's some good post plant stuff for B, although not necessarily post plant. And mollying the door or the window, you can see the window because the window's under this frame. So you can molly window from like here by just aiming at the middle of the frame, and then again from here aiming at the middle of the frame, and then the further back you go, the more up you have to aim to not like hit the top of this. But just kind of knowing that like from anywhere over here you can molly the window by aiming at various levels up here. If you're planted for apps, you're actually completely hidden from CTs here until they walk up to like this far. So you can sit here, listen for the tap, and then back up a couple steps until this gap opens up, and then aim there and throw it and bank it off the ammo. Right, you can't get like jump spotted. Normally, like they're like worried about, so they'll tap it, jump up, like wait for you to peek them and then jump up. You cannot see them there, even coming up this far. You have to get to right here. Okay, now on the CT side, again, just remind you for a second that CT side of Mirage is a lot about making plays with multiple people. This is I'm talking about the mid player. This is really from the mid player throwing it, but it smokes top middle. So you come back here, put your crosshair near this building, and you're gonna run forward, start walking when you cross this building, and then jump throw when you reach the next building. The way that looks at speed is like this. the idea behind this smoke is you're gonna have a player with a good spawn, either con or window, and they're gonna come out and deep molly behind it as well, and that stops them from running out top middle, as long as you're doing it off the window player specific stuff. If it's like kind of mid round and you get like stuck, you want to flash out, like throwing like random flashes like this aren't very good because they're really obvious. But coming into this like sawhorse corner, crouching, aiming, putting your crosshair on this dot, uncrouching, jump throwing, jump underhand throwing, I should say. Pops really low, blinds all of mid. It blinds pretty deep into under as well. So in mid, you kind of have to understand that like you're gonna get smoked out a lot. So if you're here and you see a smoke coming, you can jump up here and then put your crosshair along this crack, kind of at the darker spot. When the smoke pops, drop down, run through, demolly it. Or if you know it's going to be smoked when you're coming through the grate, you can line it up by looking at this crack and then the smaller crack. And then you don't move your mouse at all. You run out and throw. Obviously with window smoked, you're gonna get shot otherwise. And you can remove your window smoke, which is kind of nice about CS2. So that's kind of where the window smoke lands. If you're in this corner, you can see this square, and you can underhand and HE to blow the smoke away and peek. You can see the smoke kind of like ebbs and flows, and now I can see the lineup where you're in this corner. There's this dot on the ground, or you can aim it along here. But off the dot, jump underhand throw, and it blows up. Also, if you're having trouble lining it up when it's smoked, you can see I didn't move my mouse at all. If I'm back into this corner and I aim right here, that will usually line up pretty well with where you want to aim on here. And you can see you don't actually take damage, even like look how close I am to the window. Here, you know, it's just a normal support flash. Again, not super hard lineup, but you should be throwing this flash if your A player needs help. Okay, we'll look at the con player because he's gonna end up fighting with the mid player a lot. Now you're gonna molly aim in at round start a lot. You're running up this way. Put your molly at the end of this building and run throw. I got bumped, but it's still gonna land. And then after that, you're looking mid. You can throw it so many different ways, but just as long as your crosshair is above triple and you're in between one of these gaps, you can jump throw. Running at con, aiming at the top of cat, it'll bounce back onto the stair, and you can kind of try to play over it. It's not as good as it used to be. They can see a lot more of you than you would like. But there's an alternate smoke where instead of aiming there, you're kind of aiming at the bottom. While you get closer, you can lurk out behind it. It makes the underpass players be a little bit more scared to peek you. You can jump on top and shoot away. See when I shoot, the smoke goes away. Or you can walk out here. You can stand anywhere like top con and you're focused on helping A. You have like flashes. You can flash above bench. You can like flash off of this wall. And the way you smoke prowess, you're aiming like anywhere where this like chimney is. So like, it's just gonna bounce off of this chimney and go in. Like so it's near con where this molly is firebox default. That's the main con stuff. The only other note, it's not a lineup again, but I think it's important. If this is smoked, you can underhand your own smoke and go through it and like chain hop the smokes and then jump on bench and like fight. The A anchor obviously should also know this molly where you're aiming at this corner and run throwing. And then there's some other stuff that you should know as well. So again, it's more about setups than A. But if you're under here, just kind of aiming at this height, a little bit off to the right, step throws, landed palace. from under, aiming along this pole and jump throwing. Pop flashes ramp for you, and smokes, but you can pop flash con by step. It's a little bit more than step. It's like a walk. It's not a walk throw. It's a little bit more than a step. But that absolutely destroys anyone mid. Obviously, you're doing that, calling it for your con player. Smoke ramp from here by aiming at these thingies. You're like jump spotting. You can come along here and throw a smoke off of anywhere off the door really, and just lurk around your own smoke. Again, not really a lineup. And then again, because you end up playing retake a lot, a good kind of retake pop flash is near this trash can. You look at this line kind of in the middle, and it flashes. Yeah, so for cat, a lot of times you're gonna throw like just a really generic high flash to stop run-ups, just stops people running up. All of these nades are pretty like not super hard to throw, so like your job is kind of modeling under super important, where you're like just standing around here, step throwing, stop the under run out. Same thing with nades like that, and then also nading top mid, aiming along the top of this building, step forward throwing. Obviously trying to expose yourself a little less than that. And then if your con player still wants it, even though this is like a CSGO thing, you can smoke bottom con, coming in this corner and aiming below this white canopy. That smokes bottom con, but it's not as good as it used to be, but you can still play on it like this. Knowing a good B pop flash, like whether this is kind of far away, but from here aiming at this like cross. This pop flashes in B. So you just sit up here until it's got a peek with it. And then also this similar flash over here where it's like a middle click throw. A middle click throw aimed like at this white thing. Or it's a similar flash. You can throw a flash for top mid. This is more of like a B anchor flash where you just throw it over here and it lands above middle. Like this guy shouldn't get blind from it. But it's never gonna full blind people. Like their top mid is just gonna like partial them. So for the B anchor, much better to throw a D molly. You come along the bricks or the ammo, the missiles or whatever, and then you are aiming at the top here, and you're taking basically a little bit of a step and throwing. And the molly lands so deep that they can't get in. Oftentimes you'll go into that. You'll go into jump spotting. Your deep nade is just aimed like at this corner basically, and running forward throw. If you hold it a little bit longer, you can actually get it to bounce at people standing here along this spot. If you aim at this gap between the windows, it'll throw a kind of okay deep smoke without exposing yourself. But a lot of times you're gonna use your smoke like jump spotting, and then you're like throwing a smoke like this, and like just using it to buy time. You can jump up, play off angles on it occasionally, or just go back bench, or just dance around. One other thing the B player and the cat player can do is if you're like off-site, again about making plays, the B player will come cat sometimes. You can step throw at the bottom of the bomb site from here and throw your own Lurk Smoke and try to play off your own Lurk Smoke. Again, this is retake stuff where it's retake and support. So when you're coming over here and they're not like out A yet, you can throw like a jump flash like this that lands high over CT, and like people that are like coming out like this will get partial blind for it. Again, from like I showed with the jungle player, high CT flash is also good. You can molly the planner a couple ways. by coming top stair and aiming at the top of or sorry, coming top con, aiming at top stair. Or once they usually they're smoking CT when they're doing this. CT smoke, come in this corner and aim at the top of the building. Like a player pop flash that I was talking about is pretty good for retakes. You're coming into this corner and aiming along this line closer to the top. It's good to be able to know that you can throw mollies off of this pillar. Both if you're a rotator and you're coming in, you can throw it to stop plants. Throwing a middle of sight smoke off of that is not that terrible either, because it eliminates these angles, and it helps your cat players hugely, because now they're not dying from bench or any of these weird angles. Again, your more supportive flashes, where you can throw them, if you jump throw them over here, they'll pop above above market. Not gonna full blind anyone, but they will partial. Player was coming to this corner, and it's above this dot up to the height of here, where I think there's a nade lineup, but that's just not how I throw it. And that is going to be that similar smoke earlier when I was talking about you can bounce a smoke off of this pillar. That's going to be a similar smoke where it blocks off Van and it blocks off Cat. That's the last bit of util that I think I have for Mirage.